Welcome, bakers, to At the Bench, presented by Craft to Crumb and Baking Innovation. I am your host, Richard Charpentier, certified master baker, bakery scientist, and owner of Baking Innovation. Get ready for some great insights as we interview bakers one-on-one. Today, we're excited to feature AJ Sarno from Isgro Pastries, a fourth-generation family bakery that has been a cornerstone of Philadelphia's Italian market since 1904. AJ, alongside his brother Michael, carries on the proud legacy started by their great-grandfather Mario Isgro. With a background in biology and a passion for baking, AJ blends science with tradition to keep the flavors and techniques of this bakery alive. Welcome, AJ. It was great to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Richard. Pleasure to be here.
120 years. This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And how big of a bakery do you guys have today? What's the size about?
It's small. We operate out of 2-row homes here in South Philly. The store is on the first floor. We do all the baking out of the 2 basements. The store itself is maybe 800 square feet, 900 square feet. And the kitchen area, if it's 1,500 to 2,000 square feet, I'd say that's a lot. So it's a pretty small operation, but it's the only thing we've known for 120 years. We've never moved locations. This has been our one location. My great-grandfather bought the building sometime around the turn of the century. And we've been operating in a lot of the same ways, using a lot of the same recipes ever since.
Yep. And every time my favorite is to stop to get your lobster tail. I think you guys did. The cannolis are great, but lobster tail, every time I go in town, my kids know that sometimes you go to they bring me one. I'm like, Dad, we brought you a lobster tail. You guys did a great job with those.
Lobster tails had a tremendous resurgence. It's one of our top sellers now. It's approaching the top. It doesn't quite compete with the cannoli, but it's up there.
Let me ask you some questions before we get started up. So, 120 years and fourth generation. So what inspired you to become a baker, and how did you get your start in the industry?
I had a roundabout way of working for my family. As a kid, I would assume many family businesses, you're basically forced to work. As soon as I could really walk in and do anything with coordination, I was putting cherries on cookies, jimmying cookies, doing small tasks as a really young child. And then as I got older into my teens, my father was not one for nepotism. So everybody started at the bottom. You had to work your way up. I was washing pots and pans, working the sink, cleaning the floors, sweeping and mopping. Like most kids in that situation, I didn't have an appreciation for it. So I graduated high school, went to college here in the city at St. Joe's, got a degree in biology. I always wanted to be a doctor. I was a science nerd. After my degree I got at St. Joe's, I then went on to Drexel to get a master's degree in biology. Again, medical school being the goal. After that, I was combination of burnout and unsure of what I wanted to do. So I was at home, and mom and dad were not going to have me sit at home and not do anything. So they said, get in, help out. We could always use a pair of hands. And at that time, I was a little bit older. My father started showing me the recipes. And I guess with my science background, and baking is all chemistry, I took to it with relative ease. I understood the process and the fine measurements that are paramount in baking. And I was also working around my family and people I've known my whole life. So I don't want to say I had an epiphany, but a light bulb did go off in my head that you like what you're doing. You enjoy coming into the bakery every day. Let's go with that. So 2 rough conversations with my parents because, I was basically throwing my 2 degrees out the window. Understandably, parents always want better for their kids. They want them to become doctors and lawyers and, senators, politicians, what have you. After they saw how I was interacting here and that I really liked what I was doing, they were happy. And, I was with them every day. So, it was great. Anybody that's ever worked in a family business knows working in a family business does have its ups and downs. Yes, you get to see your family every day, but you also have to see your family every day. But good and bad, it's been a lot of fun, and continuing on the tradition of, 3 generations before me, it's really a humbling honor.
It shows, though. Now, with what you do as a retail business, what are some trends you're seeing with your customers? I know you mentioned the lobster tail is starting to come, and And what is the product that you make the most every day today?
Well, we're famous for our cannoli. We've won Best Cannoli from Philly Magazine here 5 or 6 times. That's an original recipe. That's my great grandfather's recipe that's been passed down generation to generation. My family being Sicilian, Sicilians are traditionally untrusting people. So the recipe was never written down. It was only passed down from my great grandfather to his kids at night when no one else was here, so that no one else could learn it or steal it. And same thing from second to third generation. My dad's uncles taught him at night after everybody else had gone home, and right down this third to fourth. My dad taught my brother and I after hours. It's a simple dough, but it takes time, and there's a finesse to it, if you will, that even if somebody did have the recipe, they might not really be able to recreate because you have to know how to work the dough. But that's our number one. I think what we've been seeing, especially since COVID, even a little bit before COVID, people care more about where they're getting their food from. So they want to know that it's homegrown, it's made in the location that they're picking it up from, with ingredients that are locally sourced. When it comes to a specialty item like myself, someone comes to me for a special occasion or a treat. I'm not an everyday item. And I think in this industry, people want to gravitate more towards their local shops. Not to digress, but we're also in a location that's a high tourist area. The 9th Street Italian Market here in Philadelphia. On the weekends, we get thousands of people through the market every day, which is great. So you see a lot of new faces. And we have, of course, being in the neighborhood for 120 years, a lot of the same ones and a lot of faces that have been generational. Parents bring their kids, then bring their kids and their kids. It's really, I don't work in the store too much. I'm in the back baking, but every once in a while I get in the store and I'll talk to some customers and, my grandparents got their wedding cake from you. For 3 generations, we've been getting our rum cake for Christmas from Isgro. It's humbling. On our end, we just have to continue to maintain that quality and that level of service that our customers have, become accustomed to.
And that's what I've been saying in the bakery industry, whether or not it's a small or large bakery. Once you put quality forward at a fair price, consumers will come back and buy again and again. It's much more than just marketing and a nice logo that says what the product does. It's really the experience that, especially with the event of social media, they'll take a picture and they'll share with their friends, say, hey, I had the best cannoli, or I had the best lobster tail. You need to come and check it out. And it's powerful. Yeah. But I'm excited to see, since COVID, that we're seeing a resurgence of people spending money with local businesses. Yeah. And now for our last question. You're a 4th generation baker. What advice would you give someone just starting up in the industry, or someone saying, I want to be a baker? What would you say to them?
That's a good question. I've been doing this full time now for almost 10 years and running the business with my brother for probably the past 5 or 6. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but it's hard work, but it's rewarding work. What I like to say is I peddle memories. I peddle happiness. People don't ever come into the bakery sad. No one's ever sad picking out cupcakes and cookies and sweet treats. It's always a joyous occasion. And the one thing, though, that you have to have that comes along with that is you have to have patience. A lot of baking is being patient. You're waiting for doughs to rise, not kneading doughs too early, letting things rest. You have to have a level of patience with what you're creating and with the people around you and with your customers. The old saying, customer's always right. Sometimes that's hard, but having patience with every aspect of your life and your business and whatever you're doing, it is a tremendous value to have. Because if you're patient and you're doing the right things, then good things will start to happen. So start being successful, not rushing, not trying to get too big too quick, staying within yourself. There's always opportunities to do different things, but being patient, maintaining that quality, and growing and honing your craft through that, it is what I would suggest. Be patient.
It's a good advice. And like you said, it's like your cannoli, there's little secret steps that goes into patience, and then you guys are still doing it the same way for 120 years. That's patience and dedication, and not say, hey, we found a shortcut. We can produce higher quantity, but the quality can change. So You're speaking my language. Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you for your time. I'm your host, Richard Charpentier, and we'll see you next time. For all of your product development needs, think of Baking Innovation. We are your ultimate team of bakery experts, scientists, engineers with over 120 years of experience, from technical support to education, science, and process efficiency. We've got every aspect of your baking needs covered with unparalleled results. So give us a shot.